This is messenger. Can I go through it?
Sure.
Sure, you can go on. I just told him right for something else.
Did you need a wait?
Yeah.
You're out my way.
I think you're gonna do it.
I know. All right.
Is the PowerPoint up on that computer?
He's just picking on me.
No, not at all, Bill. Some good pictures. We'll go ahead and get started here. This meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There may be time for public participation as indicated by agenda item or directed by the president. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodations should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. The meeting will be electronically recorded and will be kept on file in the superintendent's office. A copy of the audio recording will also be available on the LCS website. The website address is www.nlcs.k12.in.us. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all members are present, either here or via Zoom. Mr. Garrison. Go ahead and rise and uncover, say the pledge. Mr. Gillespie, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Review for approval minutes from November 19th, 2020, executive session memorandum from November 19th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Arnold makes the motion and a second.
Second.
Dr. Gerges seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you. Next, review for approval of minutes from December 3rd, 2020, public hearing and executive session memorandum from December 3rd, 2020. Get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Gillespie makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Dr. Gertis seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you. Item D, purchase to address the board relative to the agenda. Seeing none? Moving on. Item E, claims and payroll since the last board meeting. Mrs. Rome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not since our last meeting, since our November meeting, we've had claims and payroll in the amount of $8,039,350.85, bringing that to the board for your approval.
The motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Arnold makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Mr. Gilbert seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item F, curriculum. Mrs. Nate.
To start, I just wanted to share some news that you may have seen on our Facebook feed, but Nikola Zabaranenko, a fourth grader at Shawswick Elementary school, Mrs. Kloss, our English language learner instructor, submitted his essay titled Diversity in Indiana, and he won first place in the entire state. And so not only does he get the status of winning first place in the entire state, but he also received $250 and a 529 choice scholarship donation. And he was recognized on the 204th statehood day, a virtual event this year. Usually it's in person. You may have seen it already, but we wanted to just share Nick reading his essay.
Hi, my name is Nick, and I will show my essay for University Indiana. My English teacher says that people are surprised to hear that we have so many English language learning at my school. She says that people are interested in our stories and would like to hear about our journey. I'm an English language learner and moved to Indiana last year. I spent the first 8 years of my life in Ukraine. My mama moved to Indiana because she says that it will be better on almost all ways. In the school there, you must wear uniforms. Here you many wearing whatever Jewish. There we didn't not have small boards and problems. We ordered from books and worksheets. Around in Indiana from the third grade and even college. I've been studying English since the first grades sometimes. I didn't understand what my teacher was saying. 1 year later, I understand much better. My teacher told me to raise my hand if I don't understand. My teacher asked me if I could help her to English as a virtual student who had just moved here from China. easy essay. Then the student first popped it on the screen. I said, "Ni hao," and she says, "Ni hao." Right there. My teacher smiled and asked how I know how to say hello in Chinese. Easy, I said. Google Translator. Talking about diversity in Indiana, you say. And I say, here you will find a boy from Ukraine teaching a girl from China how to speak English. That's my essay. Bye.
Did a great job and just truly captured what is happening. And during this year where our teachers have been amazingly adaptable and supporting our students, they got a boy from the Ukraine teaching a girl from China how to speak English. So, so we were really proud of him and proud of just the hard work, and that kind of honors all the hard work that our teachers have done this semester. So we've been virtual in our middle and high school these few days, and our high school teachers were impressed with the attendance of our students on their live meets. And so they were excited to see them. We'll have our last day tomorrow, and then everybody gets a well-deserved 2-week break. So we'll start again in January.
Any questions from me? Thank you for sharing and congratulations to that young man.
Board secretary sent a card from the board.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can get something to him. I actually was able to meet Nicholas and his family. When we redistricted, he previously attended Stalker. And of course, just trying to explain, the redistricting and that process. And when him and his mother found out that Mr. Perry was going to be at Shelswick and he was his principal at Stalker, everything okay, no problem. And so it's nice to know, he's made a wonderful transition, but also Mr. Perry played a big part in making him feel at home. So, but I'll see, we'll get something to him.
Great. Item G, personnel, Mrs. Hensett.
Thank you. For support staff, for certified, we have Catherine Burke, going to be an NLCS nurse for us. And under instructional, we have Morgan Brannaman, and we are Olympic Campus Early Care ELL Instructional Assistant. Haley McMillan, Olympic Campus Resource Instructional Assistant. Lauren Thompson, Parkview Emotional Disabilities Instructional Assistant. And for custodial, we have Robert Wayne, better known as Macaulay Michael, for an NLCS 190-day custodian, and Sonia Silva will be an NLCS 190-day custodian. I bring those to you for your approval.
Get a motion to approve? So Leslie makes the motion, second.
Second.
Mr. Arnold seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
Thank you. Under transfers, under certified, we have Sarah Perry transferring from Shawswick Instructional Assistant to Olytic Campus Resource Instructor. And under support staff, we have Ruby Curran transferring from Parkview to B&L Cook. Noel Ramey transferring from BMS to Olytic Cook. Mike Taylor transferring from NLCS Custodian to become our NLCS Lead Custodian. And I bring those to you for your approval.
Get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Gilpin makes the motion and a second.
Second.
Dr. Curtis seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
Thank you. Under extracurricular for BMS, we have Caitlin Gibbons to be our BMS yearbook sponsor. OMS, Christina Reinhardt, the Olytic Campus yearbook sponsor. At BNL, Lauren Bailey, and also Caitlin Holmes to be BNL dance team sponsors. Tracy Lee, BNL Special Education Department Chair. and Heather Needham, B&L Concession Manager. Bring those to you for your approval.
Your motion to approve.
Motion.
Mr. Gertis makes the motion, second.
Second.
Gillespie seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
And information items under resignation, we have Deborah Anderson resigning as an instructional assistant, Barbara Lanham resigning as an instructional assistant, Michelle Carpenter resigning as part-time super sub, Audrey Davis resigning as instructional assistant, Jenna Decker resigning as instructional assistant, Chelsea Johnson resigning as a lytic and newborn nurse, Heather Needham resigning as food service cook, Aaron Sanders resigning as B&L girls golf coach, and Sydney Terry resigning as a lytic campus instructional assistant. And again, that's information items, resignations. Moving on to medical leaves requests. Kristen Metzmar requesting a medical leave. Madeline Voorhees requesting medical leave. Rita Jenkins requesting to extend her medical leave, and Ashley Greenwood requesting to extend her parental leave. And Ashley wasn't on yours, that was left off, but she had turned it in plenty of time. We just failed to get it on the list, and she's our VMS orchestra. So again, that's information items, please. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, item H, general, Dr. Noble.
Like the board's approval to reassign Tammy Davis from the data technician position to technology coordinator. I know she works probably most closely with Mrs. Dayton in our business office with everything. Obviously, our technology has evolved, as you all know, and I think this is just a more appropriate change in title. So I bring that to the board this evening for your approval.
Get a motion to approve.
Motion.
Dr. Gertis makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Mr. Gilbert seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
Next up, need the board's approval. We have the administrative contracts, and those are for the assistant principals. They would typically expire at the end of the school year, which is obviously coming up, but I wanted to bring to you, and I had presented in your document, just extending that so they would extend to 6/30/2022. Those are Mrs. Butterfield, Wendy Butterfield, Mr. Matt Canada, Mr. Jordan Key, Mr. Cheryl Knight, Miss Kelsey Pace, Miss Kelly Terrell, and Mr. Hein Talustig. So I bring those to the board just to approve a one-year extension on those positions.
Motion to approve.
Someone move.
Mr. Gillespie makes the motion. Mr. Arnold seconds the motion. Questions on the motion?
Fine group, isn't it?
It is. And I think so much of during this year, obviously, I mean, you know, you've heard us mention several times our school nurses, administrators, our teachers, our teaching assistants, all that our food service has done with COVID and everything and the pandemic. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of everyone, but obviously they fall into that group as well. So yes.
All right.
Did you vote?
Did we got a motion and a second? Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same. Thank you.
Next up, we have ESCRIFT. ESCRIFT is a state consortium. I've shared with you, just need the board's approval this evening to accept ESCRIFT as our insurance proposal with property casualty liability and workman's comp. You can see there just yesterday, the governor's task force came out with improving teacher compensation, and they listed some areas in that handout. I provided you the document, but number 5 listed that local school districts could do is join a liability risk pool. That is what ESCRIFT is. They didn't list it by name, but we will be the 95th school district in the state to join. With that, you can see just some of the comparisons. I know Mr. Arnold was able to join us and Mrs. Roan as we heard the different proposals we had. And just, you can see there on the right-hand side, obviously I provided it to you, but just to share in green, as we click through those slides, you can see all of the different areas that our coverage will actually be greater than it would be with Liberty Mutual. And there's several slides there, and we'll just click through those. Most importantly, we want to get to the money amount, and we can see there with that, that is a list of all the other schools that are part of ESCRIFT. Some of the larger schools closest to us, Vincennes, Columbus schools, Jasper in Du Bois County. But there you can see the comparison. And I think it's just another area by rolling up our sleeves and looking at the different options for school districts and not maintaining things status quo, I guess. You can see in 2020, we took bids, and you can see historically, even back in 2014, we were paying $773,000. But our bids this year came back from Liberty Mutual at $605,000, or ESCRIFT proposal is $514,000 approximately, which is a $90,000 a year savings. So I feel comfortable with making that recommendation to you tonight. I'd be happy to entertain any questions. We did review financials and different things. So I bring that to you. I think that was all the slides. You might.
Just to clarify, we didn't wait on the governor's report to come out before we started entertaining this.
That is correct.
We have discussed this, the entire board and Dr. Mungle for well over a year now to look for ways to save, and that was one of them. So everybody has worked hard on making this happen. So anyway, anybody have anything else? With that, if not, we'll take I'll entertain a motion. Dr. Gertis makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Mr. Gilbert seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
Just a little bit of a follow-up. We will be purchasing an extension policy. The 7 superintendents that are part of joint services, we will be purchasing an extension on the policy that we had just for joint services, which would take care of any claims that comes in actually in the next 36 months. So we have 3 years that if any claims would come in with joint services, we would have that coverage, and we will just pay our proportionate share on that policy. But just to let you know, because historically, we've had 2 policies. So just to let you know, it doesn't take our board to vote on that. Our superintendent's board voted on that, but I think just the comfort of knowing that we'll have that policy as well moving forward. The only other thing as we look through those slides, and if we back up, I think it is like Mr. Todd said, these are things that we have been, one more maybe we'll find number 1. The one thing, yes, the one thing, we didn't wait for this policy, and I think we've been doing lots of things, and I think, it has been, and at times, probably the board and even myself has said, we need to slow down. We've got so many different things, but obviously, as we started looking at things and we started seeing the savings, the state's pharmacy plan, well, that is something that was actually adjusted 2 years ago. We went to a new pharmacy plan and it has saved all of our employees. It's not the state's pharmacy benefit plan, but I know we have looked at that and it may be something that our health insurance switches over to. The good thing is North Lawrence is still not on their own. So we do have a pharmacy plan. If we look at the next slides, limit working spouses participation. Obviously, that is what would be a carve-out plan. That's something that they're recommending school districts look at. We've not adopted that. It is something that we can look at during negotiations. We have discussed it. And so it isn't something we've addressed, but we have had conversations about that. Exclude Medicare eligible retirees from healthcare plans. That's something that North Lawrence has done. As far as what was done historically. So we've made some adjustments in that area. I think increased utilization of centralized procurement. These are things that we've done with SIEC. A lot of the masks we have bought and PPE equipment we have bought through the Southern Indiana Education Center. We purchase our school buses through the Wilson Education Center. Those are all state centralized procurement plans. I think moving ahead, we're going to look at the paper that we use and a lot of different things with that bid list. And we need to do more centralized purchasing. Historically, a lot of the schools did their own. And so we're making adjustments. I know Janice is excited about that. Obviously, it's a lot easier to make one purchase instead of 15 purchases of smaller. So
One other thing you mentioned about that, I think is a good thing is through these purchasing things, they deliver to each individual school the orders rather than us having it go to the central warehouse, unload, warehouse it, put it on a van, send it out to the school, unload it, store it at the school. So it just goes directly to the school rather than it being handled twice.
when we came, it was just being done to one location and we had to touch it all again. And I think when we negotiated that purchasing process, it was, we will purchase it, but you will deliver it to where we're going to use it. So can you go all the way back a little bit to slide number 5? And I keep going a little bit. Andrew, we must have not got it in there. There. These are the, and I think it's important that we go down through these because these are the things the state's recommending. Obviously, we know join a liability risk pool. We just did that tonight. Number 6, everyone will say it was the most difficult, most challenging. And I think it is something that we will continue to look at from right sizing our school district. We have to right size our school district and make sure we have the staff ratios correctly. We had 14 principals, now we have 7. Yes, we've added a couple assistant principals, but we're doing our best that if there is a principal that, the number of staff that they're evaluating and the number of students and families they're supporting, that we're getting that to much better number and looking at our staff ratio. I think historically, that is an area, let's look at it. It's not too easy to take care of it. Let's look at something else. So that's number 6. Number 7, share services with other school districts and external organizations. Obviously, we do a lot with the Career Center. I think the other school districts will continue to do things with joint services. The only reason that we're making that is the numbers are so high. We have approximately 1,200 students with IEPs, so we have more than enough to take care of there. in that area. So, but obviously with different things, we will continue to do things with other school districts and implement additional best practices. I think those are always things, and by learning and listening to other school districts, I think by being a part of the Indiana School Boards Association, I know Stacy Green does lots with food preparation, what Larry just mentioned with custodial and maintenance. Those are things that we're looking at in saving our money. So I just wanted to share those. It just came out and I think it was refreshing. There's one last slide right there. Some additional revenues. And I will say this, and I kept that there, number 10. There is currently only 2 school districts in our region that do Medicaid reimbursement claims, and we are one of them. It's actually us and Eastern Green in our area. So we're doing that. I think just because we're doing it, we need to look at where we can do more. But the nice thing is it was a point of conversation at our last special ed meeting on ways we could increase that. So I just share that with all of you. It just came out yesterday or the day before. And I think it, I guess it's nice to be reflective and see that our work is things that this governor's task force says our local school district should be doing. On the only other note, we do have some virtual training that I'm scheduling with the Indiana School Boards Association, just to be able to offer that, provide that, and I'll get that information out to all of you. The Indiana School Boards Association is just on the process of getting that information sent out. So, thank you. Next up, I was going to have Mr. Pittman just share a little bit. We don't have a lot of information, but answer any questions or just an update on the Springville Fayetteville Elementary School.
Thank you. After the December 3rd meeting, I sent everything up to Jane Herndon, all the documents that you guys approved, and along with the appraisal information through the court. So all those documents have been sent up to her, and the next step is for her to acquire signature from the trustee bank, which is US Bank. They have to sign off on the supplemental indenture and a release to release the bonds. So we're still awaiting that. I'd hope to get them back before tonight, but unfortunately we don't have those yet. We ran into a little bit of delay, and not a lot, but a few days. Larry was quarantined and wasn't able to be here, so we waited a few days until he was released from quarantine to be able to sign the documents. And I know our bond counsel had been ill as well in quarantine. So, but those have been delivered and are being, it's out of our hands at this point. So we're just waiting on the bond or on the trustee bank to sign those and return them to us. So that's where we stand. So as far as an update, there's really not an update, but that's it. So as soon as we get those back, we can record the original documents. That'll release the lien, and that'll be the end of that phase anyway.
Okay.
Any questions? Thank you.
This is just some sharing some pictures. We've put some different things together. This is how we've repurposed some of the furniture at, this is actually a picture at Olytic. The classrooms at Olytic did not have any permanent furniture in those classrooms. And you can see how we're doing our very best to repurpose any of the resources that we can out of Fayetteville, Springville, and Heltonville schools. We were at a little bit of a crunch. Obviously, it was hard to relocate a lot of that during COVID and during the short summer with everything, but we were able to put those in 9 classrooms. And I know the teachers, of course, many of the teachers at Olytic were teachers at Springville, and but we're looking to relocate more of that. The other slides there, I know we reused the seating. You can see previously There was 3 rows of seating at Lincoln, but this has just made a wonderful addition to the gym, you know, for the convocations and so many things. And everyone will have a seat. Most importantly, if the principal makes a decision and, hey, we need a convocation, they can pull the bleachers out with the push of a button. It's electric and much safer. And as you can tell, those have railings and everything's handicap accessible, and even some places on both of the ends for wheelchairs. The other picture is Parkview Intermediate. We don't have them pulled out there just because the Parkview Intermediate gym is a location that we're using for lunch now instead of the cafeteria across the hall, so we can increase the social distancing. But you can see the bleachers there, and we did not have to paint the wall or put the Panthers there behind. So they were already there. So those bleachers really match nicely there. And the same is true for Parkview Primary. So just a little bit, I just wanted to share that. I know there was some concerns. We are looking at relocating some of the playground that was purchased with the bond when they made the changes to the schools. We will be moving that. We were able to take anything that we take down or would relocate is items that we will use at the other schools. Obviously, we're looking at relocating and putting additional equipment at Olytic and at Parkview and Shawswood. There are larger elementary schools, and if we just look at the amount of equipment that we have per students, we need some more equipment there. So
you're saying that the thing I saw on Facebook where it's sitting in a dumpster out at B&L is not true?
it is not true.
Okay, well, I wondered, I mean, it was on Facebook, so it's gotta be true.
Well, we did relocate it out there because our maintenance is going to re-sleeve it with some new pipe and weld it. So then we can reattach it. But it is not the case. You know,
So in this one instance, Facebook was mistaken.
it was. That was the one time that it was mistaken. So, but I wanted to share that with all of you. I know that's been the board's intentions, and it's our intentions and my intentions, and I didn't want you to think I had went astray or something. So,
Well, I know, I will say the board, I mean, several of us have toured the buildings and seen, you know, the furniture. I mean, it was surprising to me that there wasn't anything in those rooms before. So getting to go and see all that, I mean, like I said, several of us have, maybe all of us have went and, you know, walked through several of the schools to see where that stuff is being relocated and reused and not thrown away. Obviously, we know the board has, you know, heard some of those things, and through Dr. Mungle and Donnie Zalman and different, you know, there were things that weren't reusable that some may have thought were, that were, you know, had to be, you know, disposed of. But
you know, the one thing we didn't take a picture of, we have several, all of our smart boards and different things that we were able to locate. So all of our classrooms now have smart boards, which is something I didn't think of, but we didn't take pictures. And even, I know even Andrew, Mr. Clampett went out and helped hook those up and mount those, just because it was kind of an all hands on deck. So, but that's another example just sitting here that we've utilized. The last thing, just obviously, as we have been, a COVID update, you know, most importantly, we, as Mrs. Dayton shared, we did switch to virtual. I think obviously our goal is to always keep our students in person if at all possible. I think there's lots of benefits there, but when it becomes a staffing concern, or if we reach a certain number that are quarantined or those things, we made the decision quickly to make that adjustment. You know, and we'll continue. I did reach out and I did have the opportunity to have a virtual meeting with Dr. Smith with the health department. He recommended that our schools not be at full capacity during while we were orange and during this time period. And fortunately, our schools, with the number of students, and I think a lot of people don't understand the high school example, we have over 400 students that are learning virtually. So 25% of our students at each of the grade levels or more are not attending school. And they have chosen to learn virtually. That in itself frees up a lot more space, frees up different classrooms. And there's a big difference if you go from a classroom of 28 and having 17 in it than those areas. I think all of our principals, all of our teachers have continued to look at different ways. I know, just like we saw the picture of Parkview Intermediate using the gymnasium. It isn't ideal, and I know the PE teacher does take a couple classes over to Parkview Primary, you know, in when a gym is needed, but it best meets the needs of those students to have it serve as the cafeteria. And as you know, we've done different things at the high school, obviously the auxiliary gym and not only our cafeteria in different locations. And two, I think sometimes we forget too, even the number that may be absent just from typically 5% are absent on most days anyway. And then most of the time our range as far as in quarantine, very seldom does it get over 5%. And if it does get over 5%, it's usually just for a few days as the quarantines fall off. So it's something that we've continued to monitor. We have all the different percentages. We'll continue to share those. I did share that information with Dr. Laughlin and Dr. Moore, who are both with the Southern Indiana Pediatrics, and they felt too we needed to do what we could to have our students in schools, that it's a safe place for the students, that they have not seen any examples of large transmissions within our schools, but that the data we was looking at and keeping track of was as impressive as they had seen in other schools. And I know every day we look at that and we don't only monitor the numbers, we have it in percentages. And as you know, we have it in our graphs, and we'll continue to look. And we'll just keep our fingers crossed that UPS and FedEx doesn't get stuck in that snowstorm that they were sharing today in the Northeast, and gets those vaccines there. So I just shared that with you this evening, and I can't say enough about all of our staff. So in going into that, the last thing that we have for our 3 outgoing board members is a gift from North Lawrence Schools. We wanted to share tonight. I know, well, let me take back. I've been on some boards. I've not served on a school board, but I know that we get many of the same phone calls. And I think it is so much easier to, be that board member out there and they have no idea, because oftentimes there is that one opinion, but and I cannot begin to think as far as the number of phone calls, but when you start getting both sides, and they're both sides that are logical and both sides that they are passionate about. And it deals with the community, and I've had the opportunity to get to know all of you. I enjoyed thoroughly at different times. We've agreed to disagree, and I hope you never felt like, even if we were on the disagreeing end, that there was any less respect for your opinion or your position on anything. So we thank you for serving. We thank you for asking questions and making us question ourselves and making us better, because I know the three of you have put our students first, the students first. So I have for you this evening, I know Jeremy, you served 4 years on the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Mr. Arnold, 14 years?
Yes, sir.
14 years?
Thank
And I tell you, Scott, you just don't hear of anybody serving 16 years on a public board. So all of you have a long way to go. But Scott, I can't imagine the number of phone calls or emails. I know we were kind of talking, we thought it was like 400 meetings. And you know how many phone calls sometimes you get per meeting. So I can't imagine. So thank you from all of us. And
2003, actually prior to that, I was inspired by I work closely with the schools and inspired by Dr. Turner. And as often we talk about the victories in the classroom, and that's what drove me to want to serve. And have had a front row seat to a lot of that. And but I never thought we'd get to victories in the virtual classroom that we're at now. But it's been an honor, and certainly in good hands. Some of the finest people I've ever served.
I'd just like to say, one thing I wanted to mention was I drive by BMS quite often. And I don't know who painted the quarry signs up there or how that came about, but I just want to say that is awesome. You know, that looks so good, and to have the history of the gym there. And I know several years ago, we got a history lesson on it by Dr. Creighton's husband, I believe. That was built basically with volunteer money. The school had so much and they built it for that amount of money. But I'd like to say for 14 years, it's been a privilege to serve on this board. I have been very blessed to work with a lot of different people, and it's been a privilege. And I want to thank Joe, Tim Brook, and his group for the outstanding work that's been done at the Career Center. I believe we have one of the finest career centers in the state. And that's really what motivated me to kind of want to get back on the board. I'm not disappointed that I didn't, but just to continue to work with that Career Center. We have probably one of the best directors in the state. We have some outstanding people there, and Christina Baker, now with Josh Mullis, all of the teachers out there at the Career Center. I believe that Career Center is the future of our community. The jobs in this community are a lot of skilled trades. It's not college educated students, it's skilled trades. And that's where our focus needs to be. And I would like to see this group and the new group coming in as soon as they can to look at expanding the Career Center and continuing to add programs and take advantage of Mr. Street while he's here. And just thank you for putting up with me.
Jeremy, you got anything?
Yeah, sure. I just want to thank first all the staff in North Lawrence Community Schools, mainly the teachers and the janitors and the cooks and the administrators as well, and all of you all as well. I, like Scott, think that you all are a very, very fine group of people representing our school system. I'm looking at the administrator list. I think we've got about a couple dozen here. And in the last 4 years, I believe we've probably hired 18 to 20 of those people. I think we've done a fairly decent job for our school system. So I know we've met a lot of headwinds in the last couple of years, and I think we've taken that challenge head on, and I think we've done some good things. I hopefully we're able to continue to build on that, to offer our kids more programs, just more ways to win and become successful adults. So I'm really proud of that. And I just would like to wish the new upcoming board well, and I hope they continue to fight to better our school system. I just want to thank everybody.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I guess I'll take my turn and, on behalf of the remainder of the board here, I would like to, I guess, first, the guy here to my left, I didn't know Larry very well before, before being elected to be on the board. Obviously, in a couple years, I've got to know Larry a lot. We've spent a lot of time together, and you could always bounce things off of Larry, and he had, he's got a great memory. Remembers a lot of things from, you know, prior boards, prior years, stuff about the PAC, because he was involved with different parts of that, you know, and could give us some great history lessons on lots of things. So, and have I, you know, grown to have a lot of respect for Larry, and I wish you well, and now you can spend more time with your grandkids, and I know the Career Center is something you're passionate about, and we do as a board, we want to continue with that, and keeping that up. It'll be a tough job for all of us with the time you spent there, but we will we'll pursue that on your behalf. And then obviously Scott Gillespie, I just like what Dr. Mungle said, serving 16 years, 2 has been a lot for me. So I can only imagine what you've gotten in 16 years. And so, you know, Scott has always been, well, in a short period of time, I grew to respect his wisdom. He didn't say a whole lot, you know, executive sessions didn't say a whole lot, but then he would speak up, everybody listened, because he let everybody else argue and, no, let's call it discussed issues, and then Scott would give his opinion on things. So I just continue to respect him more and more for what he had to say, his knowledge, his history of what he in his time being on the board. And just when I thought that I couldn't respect him anymore, he said something in executive session tonight that I won't forget in the remainder of my time on the board. So everyone else here heard what he said. No need to repeat it, but that means a lot, Scott. It really does. And then moving on to Mr. Gilbert, I did know Jeremy before coming onto the board. His grandparents and my grandparents were neighbors out in Peerless, and if I wasn't swimming in the creek, was at his grandparents' house because they had an indoor pool. And so I've known Jeremy for a long, long time. Tremendous amount of respect for the guy. Hard pressed to find someone as passionate about giving kids more opportunities than Jeremy Gilbert. He has preached that to me from the time that I've been here serving, and every decision that he made, you knew that that's what was first and foremost on his mind. So, and then, so all of the volunteering that Jeremy does, coaching and whatnot. So maybe now he can finally get paid for some of this volunteering for the schools that he does. But I know he would do it.
I do it for free.
He'd do it for free, without a doubt. But anyway, I can't say enough. We came into this, and I say we, Dr. Gerges, myself, Mr. Garrison, we came in as at the same time, obviously, and we've had our hiccups, we've had our ups and downs, but we leave and sometimes agree to disagree. But working as a team is something that I think we have done a really good job of, and we will miss the 3 of you. We really will. But we'll continue to march on and hopefully continue to make the best changes that we can make and putting the kids first for all of North Lawrence schools. So anybody else like to say anything?
Trent, I'd like to, I'd have to say this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, but I want, like you talked about kids, I want to thank my family, my wife Hillary, and especially my 3 kids for allowing me to do this. I know it took a tremendous amount of time away from them, and if anyone knows me very well at all, they know I spend as much time as possible with my kids, and I had to sacrifice some time with them. They were proud of what we've done, and I know they were a part of some of the, some of the negativity. They bore some of the brunt of that. So I just want to thank them too. I know we all will, without saying anything, all 7 of us, we wouldn't be able to do stuff like this without the sacrifice of our family. So you got me 100% now. Thanks.
Well, thank you guys all again. Greatly appreciate your time served. If nobody has anything else,
Do you have anybody to address the board?
Persons to address the board. Joe Timbrook.
Thank you, President. I couldn't let the 3 board members leave tonight without the thanks of the community, Lawrence County Economic Growth Council, Workforce Coalition, and all the other partners that we have in the community, and what you've allowed us to do over the last 2 years in working with the school system. So especially to Mr. Gillespie, Mr. Gilbert, maybe even a little extra, especially to Mr. Arnold for his passion, as he spoke earlier, regarding the Career Center and the part he's been with that. He's let us not only do some things out there that'll help the kids, but you'll all let us go do some things now with our first 3 cohorts that help 28 students out there. And so just, on behalf of, I think, the community, we thank you for your time and the effort. 16 years, I can't even imagine, no way. So thank you. And thank you for your commitment, not just to the kids at the school, but the commitment to the community as well. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to let Mr. Arnold off the hook when it comes to what happens in the future at the Career Center. So on behalf of the community and our organization, we thank you.
Joe, just as a parting thing, about how much money have we received for the Career Center since we started? With Paul and now with Mr. Street.
We're well over $1 million when you look at dollars that have been leveraged on equipment. People, you see Mr. Gilbert stand in his, if you've not been in that place, it is absolutely incredible.
It's like going from a dinosaur
oh my God,
to a state of the art.
We have company owners coming in, talking to our class at night, looking at now making better partnerships with like advisory boards and the director's advisory board as well. And they come in and look at the CNC machines and all the stuff that I don't even know what they are. And they just look at them like we don't even have that, And so really what's able to be leveraged with Vincennes University, Hoosier Uplands, our group, a number of people in the community. I think you're right. We are well on the way to being the state-of-the-art career center, for sure in Southern Indiana, if not the state. And just because of vision, and I think of the community, of you all. Brad Street has been a tremendous addition. Christina Baker is one of a kind, and so we're just grateful to you. You've let us. You first people looked at us with wondering eyes, like what are they trying to do here, But you've really warmed up to the idea of letting the community join in and be helpful out there. And there's our commitment. We have a sustainability plan through 2022 to help continue to do what we're doing out there for the community at large, the adults, as well as the students. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. I guess before I go to closing business, just to touch on something that Larry said that I think that we should mention. The signs at BMS, they look great. And I think that was, I know we had a dedication and the sponsors. I know all of that. I read about all that in the paper. And if, do you have that? I mean, I think we should, I don't want to leave anybody out, so I don't want to say, but I think it was something that, that Christina Root and that kind of started or headed up and then got sponsors and turned into a really nice thing.
You know, I know it was Owen County State Bank, Bedford Federal Savings Bank, German American Bank, obviously Root Hawkins were the primary individuals that came to Mr. Calhoun. They researched the history. They had the cornerstone of the 46 individuals. I went over and thanked them, obviously, on behalf of the board. I cannot remember the artist name, and I apologize at this moment, but I know that on our Facebook and our social media, and especially BMS, we recognized all that. We had a construction company that actually allowed her to use the lift to do the painting and everything. And she progressed so much that she learned actually how to drive it from corner to corner. But I know she was very happy to be a part of it and going to school there. And you know, it's interesting. I think it was 1925. And to know that in 1891, basketball was invented in Massachusetts. And in our community, just that few of years later, that they built a, you know, arena like that, or stadium or facility, I guess, or gymnasium, and even the steel that they put in it and stuff that just, you know, 29 years later after the game was invented, that this community jumped on board with it. And I think we've held on to it so long. So it is neat. So I don't know if you've had a chance to go by and look. They've tried to do the old block B that was on the original letter jackets and different things. And then some of the corners, the year that the gymnasium was built. And so it's really neat. It's nice. We've also done a lot of other work over there. If you get a chance, I don't know, you may not recognize it, but we've done a lot of work just cleaning up the shrubbery, you know, trimming the trees in front of the building. Mr. Calhoun's really jumped on board to, you know, embrace the outside of the building as much as we know he does the inside of the building and the students.
Eva Allen, there's all the sponsors.
Oh.
If you want.
I do want to for sure say the artist name. Eva Allen was the artist that helped, and it was Chastain General Contracting, Adam Chastain, that donated the lift and everything. Obviously, I said, Hoosier Hills Credit Union, German American Bank, Bedford Federal Savings Bank, Owen County State Bank, and Hawkins Root Real Estate. So it was neat. It was good. And it was really just part that we could kind of stand back, and they took a hold of it. And Mr. Calhoun, they made it happen.
Thank you. That's a really neat thing. So with nothing else, moving on to closing business. There'll be an executive session, 5:15 p.m. reorganization session, 6:30 p.m. And the Finance Committee meeting following the reorganization session on Thursday, January 7th, 2021 at the NLCS Administration Building. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Dr. Gertis makes the motion. Mr. Gilbert seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same.
Aye. I voted against the last vote. Come on.
I think the motion passed.
We need a hand.
I know.
on that.